Hey everyone, Jackie here with Women Kickballs, and today I'm going to be sharing more updates around things going on in the NWSL and US Women's National Team. So be sure to buckle up because there's lots of stuff from highs and lows, and so I'm going to try to share more on just some of the things that have been happening the past few weeks. Actually, just kidding. So before we jump into updates, I did want to share that if you are on this channel and you are wanting to get into sports media as a career, or you're just wanting to stay up to date with women's soccer, it'd be such a huge help if you can either like this video, subscribe. Actually, subscribing would be really cool. So if you could do any of those things to help support this channel, it would be really great, as I am self-employed as an independent sports journalist and freelance content creator, and I wanted to have this platform to be able to share more insight with all of you as well. So every Friday, I take the time to upload videos here to give you advice, soccer updates, and just so many different things, vlogs as well. So just wanted to be able to have this as a resource, as I do get a lot of people emailing me or DMing me about wanting to pick my brain. And just, I guess newsflash, I'm human. I can't get to all of those requests. So I thought that having a YouTube channel would be really great to try to meet those needs as well, and to be a voice in this space that I wish I had growing up. So that's my hope and purpose behind this YouTube channel. So now that I'm getting all deep and sentimental in here, let's go ahead and dive into some of these updates. Okay, so this first update is a little heavy and rough and just, super crazy stuff. So I wanted to start off with the Portland Thorns, as for those of you who may or may not know, they recently just have been going through a lot of stuff, especially with some of their staffing changes. So in this press release, there was a few different staffing changes and updates, and the first thing they started out with was regarding former assistant coach Sophie Clough, as she made unwanted advances while the team celebrated their NWSL championship win in DC this past October. And while they were celebrating, Sophie made a player feel very uncomfortable by kissing her neck, and so there was an investigation around that, and so she was recently fired from the Thorns. And additionally, another huge change that was a shock to a lot of people was that Pierre Sabrier, who is also Crystal Dunn's husband, was an athletic trainer for the Thorns, and he was fired as he gave drugs to players on several occasions, and one situation he actually did it without their consent, and so here's a little bit more details about that. So Pierre administered codeine to several players, and for those of you who know, codeine is a drug that's a pain reliever, and so it's distributed through a prescription. And being that Pierre isn't a doctor, he was in the situation where he broke both a federal and a state law, and so he's been suspended by the NWSL, and additionally, he's been reported to the Oregon Board of Athletic Trainers and the Board of Certification. However, there is one interesting catch to all this based on the Oregon Board of Athletic Trainers and the Board of Certification's results. And so Pierre can actually be eligible for future employment in the league based on Commissioner Jessica Berman's discretion. From the press release, it outlines that if he acknowledges the wrongdoing and accepts the personal responsibility for his conduct and demonstrates a sincere commitment to correcting his behavior, that he can potentially rejoin the league and for future employment. And both him and his wife, Crystal, have released statements on their social media channels addressing the situation as well. And so I think it looks like he's trying to start that process of owning up to his mistakes. Okay, so now for some not so intense news, we're going to talk about some player trades that are going on in the NWSL. Obviously, in this offseason, there's a lot going on, but I wanted to focus on two clubs specifically. One with Angel City and their roster changes, and then two, the Orlando Pride and their staffing changes. So first up with Angel City, they actually traded midfielder Carrie Caro to the Chicago Red Stars, and in exchange, they received $65,000 in allocation money. Now, being that Angel City was struggling a lot in their midfield last season, this is obviously a very interesting thing to give away a midfielder. But then a few days later, they actually announced that they signed Katie Johnson to the club, who plays both as forward and mid, so they have a little bit more diversity in her as a player. And Katie also recently played for the San Diego Wave, and so now she's the first player to play for both California teams, which I think is pretty cool. And she's also from LA as well, so she definitely has those SoCal roots to her. And another roster change is that defender Allison Swaby will actually go on loan to PSG for the next 6 months, so there's still stuff going on in terms of the roster, as a lot of the teams are announcing their preseason rosters. Now, for the Orlando Pride, they actually have made a few different adjustments with staff and, of course, signing some of their recruits as well from the draft. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting and is definitely a huge turnaround from last season is that they made a really huge move in adding Haley Carter to their general manager, and who will also serve as the vice president of soccer operations for the club. So this is actually a new role in the sense that it has two different kind of folds to it, with a GM and a vice president of soccer operations responsibility to it. So Haley actually has a really incredible resume, as she used to play for the Houston Dash. She was also a former Marine and is a licensed attorney as well. So there's definitely a lot of insight that she brings to the table, and it's just much needed insight as well, because when you look at last season, the Orlando Pride had a lot going on in terms of ownership and just the front office side of things. And you also see like over a dozen players that left from last season. So I think with Haley and her goals to really revamp and build the system there, it's going to be huge for the Pride. So be on the lookout, as I'm sure they're going to be doing lots of stuff both on and off the field during the 2023 season. So U.S. Soccer outlined recommendations made by the Sally Yates report, and to be honest, like, this is a good start, but it's also the very bare minimum for what it's like in a professional working situation. For example, making sure that you have professional HR representatives, or having people report misconduct, and having players feel comfortable in providing feedback, etc., are just things that should already be happening. So while it's definitely the bare minimum for these athletes, I think that with Mana Shim on the U.S. Soccer Task Force is going to be just, there's going to be some much needed change that's going to be happening. But I think that this is just the beginning of actually seeing U.S. Soccer put all this in writing. So it's a good step. We're getting somewhere at least. And earlier this week, head coach Vlatko Andonovski shared his She Believes roster. And so I know there's lots of talk around this as to why Sam Coffey isn't in the mix, or what's happening with certain players. But we also got a different update too from Sam Ewis, who shared that she's not going to be returning to soccer anytime soon, as she actually had another knee surgery. However, when it comes to the club side of the Kansas City Current, they actually bought out her previous contract and signed her to a new contract for the 2023 season. So it's great to see that her club team is in support of her and just providing the additional resources and just the time for her to recover as well. So wishing Sam Ewis the best, because that's got to be tough. And she's such a great player. So really excited to see her come back and just what she'll be doing in the future. And for the final update, I kind of wanted to end on a high note because there's so much going on. But basically, the NWSL announced their very first and official creative partner with Adobe. What's really cool about this is that Adobe will empower all NWSL athletes through just different workshops, and they'll provide players with access to Adobe's Creative Cloud and the digital marketing tools to really help them as a professional as well. And a unique thing about this is that Adobe and the NWSL are launching this creator class. And basically, it's a professional creativity program designed to help women creators with a passion for soccer and creative fields. And through this, it's really cool to see that Adobe and the NWSL are also launching this creator class, which is a professional program designed to give women creators an opportunity to pursue their creative passions in the soccer world of things. And it's also an opportunity for them to earn commissions on different projects. So, side note, I hope the NWSL or someone is listening from Adobe here, because your girl would love to be a part of that. But basically, I'll share a little bit more about this, because each season through this different program, 4 creator class participants will get exclusive and behind the scene access to NWSL teams and different league moments as well. And so from this, they actually get to receive $10,000 to develop creative projects using Adobe. And so, like I said, your girl already uses Adobe products. I love it. I'm a big fan of this. So it'd be really exciting to see what else will be happening with this. But if you want to, nominate me or whatever, unofficially nominate me from participating in this, be sure to tag Adobe and NWSL, because that would be awesome. And I've been around this space for a while, and also I'm now launching more video content here on YouTube and different aspects like that as well. So I'm always on Adobe Premiere Pro, Photoshop, Lightroom, etc. It's a thing. So really excited to see where this will be going. All right, so like I said, that's a lot of updates, but I wanted to be sure to end on the high note, because I thought this Adobe partnership is really cool and something that I'm very passionate about and I'm a product of as well. So like I said, great fit there. But anyways, if you like this video or want to see more content like this, be sure to give this video a like or subscribe to the YouTube channel here. And if you want to stay up to date with free women's soccer news, you can actually do so by heading to womankickballs.com, where I provide free and accessible news on the NWSL, US Women's National Team. And when you subscribe to the newsletter, you actually get a free Woman Kickball sticker. And so I send this to you to the mail. I actually write out letters every week, and I send these stickers and trading cards. So if you would like to be a part of that, be sure to head to this link and subscribe there, and I'll be sure to get a note your way. So thanks again for tuning in. And like I said, if you're subscribed here on the YouTube channel, you'll get an update of when I publish my next video, which should be next Friday, as I'll be talking more about my career insights. So looking forward to seeing you then, and hope you have a great rest of your weekend.